You're clean, aren't you? Except for your tower. You're a tower junkie, Roland.
Hello and welcome to Tower Junkies, presented by ObsessiveViewer.com. Tower Junkies is a podcast celebrating the work of Stephen King with an occasional focus on his magnum opus, the Dark Tower series. We discuss the themes, characters, and mythology of the series in Palaver episodes, and review the books and comic series in Kef episodes. We also discuss non-Tower King novels, TV and film adaptations of King's work, and the latest news about all things that serve the King. You can find more of our work at TowerJunkiesPod.com and follow us on every level of social media at TowerJunkiesPod. And also you can support us on Patreon at patreon.com/obsessiveviewer, where if you pledge $1 or $2 per month, you get access to a plethora of audio recordings from just B-roll recordings across all of the podcasts we do. There's about 112 or 13 episodes on there now. You get instant access to that. And then if you pledge $5, you get access to that, plus audio commentaries and reaction videos, and other fun stuff as well. And finally, if you pledge $10 a month, you get access to all of that, plus early access to episodes that I put on there before I release the episodes to the main feed, and also unreleased stuff. So yeah, again, that's at patreon.com/obsessiveviewer. So I am one of your hosts, Matt Hurt, and with me today, as usual, is... lost my notes, I need to find his name. Tiny!
Hello.
Hi, Tiny. How's it going?
It's going good, man. How art thou?
Good. Art thou is all good. Having a stroke. I didn't say this in Patreon, and the listeners are gonna fucking hate me because this has nothing to do with anything. But, and this might actually sound kind of creepy, but I drove by your house today.
Oh, did you?
I did, because I dropped off my mom, and she's, like, right next, like, nearby.
Yeah.
But it's been a while since I've been, like, in the vicinity of your house, and that porch looks really nice.
Thanks, buddy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's a work in progress.
Yeah, it looks really good. I looked and I was like, oh, I didn't realize, like, how much, like, has changed, because you had that just kind of covered porch thing.
Yeah, we opened her up.
Yeah. And so I was just gazing at it, and then, like, I just fucking ran into someone's yard. Just kidding. If you guys want to check out Tiny's porch, do you want to give the address?
I do not.
Okay. So today on the podcast, I'm sorry, but today on the podcast, we are continuing our ongoing series reviewing everything related to The Stand by Stephen King, and we are coming up on the end closely now soon. Mm-hmm. But in this edition, we are reviewing episodes 4, 5, and 6 of the CBS All-Access, soon to be called Paramount Plus, miniseries of The Stand that premiered back in December and has been the final episode of it is going to be airing in a couple days on Thursday. So we're going to be talking about The House of the Dead. We're going to be talking about Fear and Loathing in New Vegas, and we're going to be talking about The Vigil. But Tiny?
Yeah?
Before we do that, we're going to do check-ins and news.
Word.
Yes. Do you have any Stephen King check-ins for the listeners of this podcast?
Very briefly, yes.
Nice.
I just finished listening to Apt Pupil.
Nice.
On the different seasons, collection of short stories. So
nice.
Yeah.
And you did that completely on your own and not for any project that we're doing for later this year.
That's true.
Nice.
Yeah.
I don't want to lie to you guys, so I'm just not going to clarify that. So go ahead. What did you think of Apt Pupil, really briefly?
It was really great. I could not remember if I had read it before, but then, like, I listened to the audiobook from Audible, and within an hour, I was like, I've read this before.
Nice.
I know I have, but I think I read like the novella as an individual book itself. Like, I don't think it was part of different seasons.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Because I know I hadn't read The Body or Shawshank Redemption.
Right.
And so I was like, I can't imagine that I opened up different seasons and just breezed past all that and didn't read that other stuff. Like I think I remember like getting it from the library or something.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, but it was a while ago. I can't remember exactly when I read it, but it was a long time ago, like teenager years. But I really, really, really liked it a lot.
Nice. Yeah. And you haven't seen the movie recently. I was talking about, not about you. I was talking to you before we were recording that, like, I have a memory of you liking the movie, or I had this impression that you really liked the movie. Do you remember the movie, or how do you feel about it?
I remember parts of it. I think, at the time I was on a big Brad Renfro kick, and I'm a big fan of Brad Renfro.
Okay.
I loved him being cast in that role. I thought it was like kind of perfect for him. So, but yeah, I remember liking the movie, and Ian McKellen is the villain, if you will. And he was obviously great, but I don't remember a ton about the movie, but I do remember liking it a lot.
Interesting. Nice.
It's been at least 10 years since I've seen the movie, so.
Yeah. Well, maybe you'll watch it soon, and maybe we'll record something, possibly. I don't know. We could have a project on the in the kicker. You might see it on your Facebook or on your podcast feed June 21st.
Who knows, bro? Who knows?
Yeah,
the world is a mystery.
Yes. So, anyway, that was dumb. What I said, not you. Anyway, so that's cool. I'm excited to chat with you about that, though, down the road.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Should I go into my check-ins?
Yeah, what do you got, bro?
Okay, I have a couple of interesting, well, not really a couple of interesting ones. One, I've really taken to reading the short story collections and listening to them on Audible. And what I've been doing is doing like Twitter threads. So I think what I might do is pretty soon I might start Everything's Eventual, 14 short tales.
14?
Or 14, 14 short tales, yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah. So, yes. Like Night Shift and Nightmares and Dreamscapes have like 20 to 22.
Holy shit, okay. Yeah. I didn't realize that.
Yep. Some of them are like 2 pages.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah.
Gotcha.
But, so I'm looking forward to that, especially because Everything's Eventual has, the Little Sisters of, Illyria in it, which is a novella, related to the Dark Tower.
Yeah, it's a tie-in, right?
Yep. So, and I think at this point, that's the only, like, directly related to the Dark Tower thing that I haven't read.
Oh, wow.
Just about.
Nice.
Just about. If you're not including the comics.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to that. The other thing is not really necessarily Stephen King-y, but it kind of is. So, Tiny, did you ever see a movie that was released in 1996, had Rick Moranis and Tom Arnold? It was called Big Bully.
No, that doesn't even ring a bell.
Okay. So, first of all, there is something in my brain like that kicks in the nostalgia of these like this very specific type of like family comedy that was released in like the mid 1990s. Like there's something about like movies like House Arrest, Carpool, Big Bully, I'm blanking on some.
Snow Day.
Snow Day, I guess. And to another extent, like Little Giants, and like just very 90s comedy movies that are somewhat under the radar. They really like resonate with me in a big way. But Big Bully is in that similar vein. It's like it was like the second or third or fourth Tom Arnold movie of 1996. But it's basically about a kid who is bullied, and then he grows up. A kid who's bullied, he moves, then he grows up and becomes a famous author, and the school, like his junior high, calls him and asks him if he wants to take a teaching position at the junior high, because he's like the hometown hero and everything. And he goes back, and his bully is now grown up. He's Tom Arnold, and he's the shop teacher, and shenanigans ensue.
Okay.
So, a couple of things. The reason that I'm tying this to my Stephen King check-ins is that I watched this movie on a whim. It's available on Stars right now to stream, but I watched it because it came up in conversation just organically with Mike on another on a Patreon episode on the podcast, but I watched it because I was a huge fan of it when I was a kid. And the thing that struck me about it, couple things. One, it's 1996. It's clearly like like that beginning. There's a beginning portion that's the prologue. That's him as a kid being bullied in like the, I don't know, 60s or 70s or something. Yes, It would be 60. I don't know, but time. But he's being bullied and everything. It's like it's clearly like they're trying to do like not a riff on it, but like it's very much influenced by like, oh, like the kids in Stand By Me, or like the kids in The Sandlot, but I'll keep it to Stephen King with Stand By Me. But like it's kind of not really that well defined in the movie. It's like he has like a group of friends. It's like, oh, this kid was kind of a pyromaniac, and this was the only, like, he literally says this kid was the only black kid we knew in the whole town, and he knew how to shove his fist in his mouth, and like that's his whole thing. And like it was very much and he had a crush on a girl and everything. It's very much just laying the groundwork for it, but it has that a very similar feel in tone to like to Stand By Me, because it's like voice over narration, like, oh, these were my best friends and everything.
Yeah.
But the more direct Stephen King thing is that Rick Moranis plays an author, and he comes back to his hometown and everything, and like I'll say a couple of things here. One is that I'll do the complete Stephen King rundown for this. So he's back in his hometown. He's set up in a bookstore for a book signing with his book, and no one's interested in it. Like someone comes up and they're like, he's like, oh, hey, I wrote a book. Do you want me to sign it or whatever? And then they're like, oh, no, I'm just like, where's that new Stephen King? And like, there's like 3 or 4 people that are like, come up and they ask him like for directions to where the new Stephen King was.
Nice.
Which I did my due diligence.
I know you would.
It was released in 1996. Filmed in 1995. So if you're to infer that it'd be 1996, well, if it takes place in 1996, it would be probably Rose Madder.
Oh, okay.
Would be the book that they would be looking for.
Gotcha.
But it's funny because the escalation of that scene, because like there were multiple people. Like one's this like French woman who comes up and starts speaking French, and then he's like, "I'm sorry, I don't understand." And then she's like, "I'm not going to butcher." That sounds offensive. Jesus. She says French, Stephen King. But then the last guy that comes up is like this teenager, like 90s teenager guy, like burnout kind of guy. And he's like, hey, you got that new Stephen King? And then he's like, he's just like, aisle 23, the back, horror fiction. And then he's like, oh, what's this? And then he picks up the book and he's like, oh, it's about, and he goes through his spiel. It's something like, it's about this man who loses his family and then finds himself along the way. And then he's like, oh, how do you lose him? And then like Rick Moranis does a good job in this scene in this movie, because he's like, a switch flips in his head and he's like, they were murdered with a hacksaw and something. Like he goes like, very intense. And then he goes into a whole spiel, and then the kid is like, oh, like Pet Sematary, and he's like, exactly like Pet Sematary. And it's funny because I watched this when it was like released. Like it was like on heavy rotation on HBO. So in 1996. So this might be no, because I think the It miniseries was my first like exposure to anything Stephen King. But this was like probably one of the first exposures to like Stephen King and pop culture. Well, maybe not, because the Simpsons parodies. But anyway, that's that.
That's funny.
Yeah,
that movie, I bet, would be so much better if
an asshole wasn't just describing the exact scene on a podcast.
Yes, and if Tom Arnold played the author and Rick Moranis played the bully.
That would be
just
pretty
like
interesting.
Total role reversal type thing, or against type,
good.
you know?
Yeah, that would be pretty good.
That'd be funny.
The movie's just okay. It's fine.
Sure.
Check it out. It's called Big Bully. Anyway.
I won't.
I don't blame you. So that does it for check-ins. I'm sorry. Stephen King news. I've got a few pieces of Stephen King news. Do you have anything for news?
I don't.
Okay.
No.
Okay, so since we last spoke on the podcast, Tiny, things have happened.
Yeah.
In the Stephen King-averse. The big one. Let's geek out over this. Stephen King has a new novel that is announced. It is going to be published August 3rd. It is called Billy Summers. Mm-hmm. It's about a hitman who only kills bad guys. And I'll run through a couple of notes that I have. The one note that I have is that, according to, I think Lilja's library, it's going to be 528 pages, which is about the same length as the Institute was. Mm-hmm. And then this is something interesting. Someone on Reddit, I saw a comment on Reddit, and like this just stuck in my brain so hard because I'm such a fan of his narration in Pet Sematary, but someone said, it would be great if they got Michael C. Hall to narrate because of the similarity in the plot to Dexter.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool.
That'd be cool, yeah.
Yeah, so Tiny, how do you feel about Billy Summers?
I'm excited. It's because it's not, it's more. It seems more thrillery and stuff. Not like a horror novel again. Yeah. Which I guess he's been kind of in that vein for a while. Like The Institute and Revival weren't like full on horror. The Outsider had some horror elements for sure, but kind of more mystery detective-y. Yeah. So I mean, he's sort of like gotten away from that to an extent, or at least modified that what he's most famous for, I guess.
Right.
So I'm glad he's continuing that sort of theme.
Me too.
That's cool, and it sounds really good.
Yeah, I agree. I'm super excited about it. Like, here, as of this recording, we're a few weeks away from Later being released on Hard Case Crime, which I mean, that's going to be a short read. So like, I'm excited for that, but it's also like in my head up until like this wasn't up until Billy Summers was announced, I was thinking like I want like a big Stephen King thing. I want something kind of meaty.
Yeah.
So
when is this coming out? Is this later this year?
It is August 3rd.
August, okay.
Yes.
Nice.
So I'm really excited about it. There's an excerpt that I took the liberty of transcribing so that we can act it out. I'm kidding. I'm totally joking.
Oh my god.
So yeah. Oh, the other thing I was going to say about Big Bully. Never mind. I'm not going to say that. God damn it. Yeah, so that's exciting. I'm excited for it, and we've got a few months to prepare, Tiny.
Yeah, we do.
And then the other piece of news I have a few other things for news. One is that a week or so ago, Stephen King did a kind of live not panel thing, but like a webinar. I don't know what it was, but it was called A Winter Evening with Stephen King. And again, from Lilja's library, they some of the information that came out from that kind of video conference thing was a couple things. One is that he said that for the last 2 months, oh my god, for the last 2 months, King has been working on a new book, and he said that this one will probably be long, so that's exciting.
Yeah.
And then he also kind of put the kibosh on some Dark Tower stuff. He said, even though the Dark Tower is always present, King has no plans to write a new Dark Tower book. He's not saying never, but he doesn't see it happening. So that's kind of...
I'm fine with that.
I guess. I've always had this just intense like desire to... for him to write a book, and I've said it before on the podcast, but write a book from the perspective or about the Tet Corporation from the seventh book. And have it be about their little quartet that forms to protect the tower's interests and fight the Somber Corporation.
That'd be good.
Yeah, or the Somber group. And then I would just, it would just be so perfect to have them just have like one line in the book that says, the Tet Corporation tried to make a movie as propaganda to like increase awareness of the tower, but it wasn't that good because they didn't know what they were doing. They're not filmmakers, and that would make the Dark Tower movie canon in the Dark Tower universe.
Oh my god.
But anyway, so that's cool. And a couple other things, real brief. News broke a couple of days ago that I'll just read the headline. This is really nice. Stephen King helps kids publish pandemic-inspired book. So Stephen King's Foundation, this is from the Associated Press, Stephen King's Foundation covered the third cost of publishing a 290-page manuscript by students participating in Farwell Elementary School's Author Studies program. The students started with Fletcher Mackenzie and the Passage to Hole, a story about a Maine boy by Gary Savage, and then reworked it to reflect their experiences during the pandemic. And Stephen King's Foundation covered the cost of publishing it.
Sweet.
So that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Yep. And then the final piece of news is that last Friday, Stephen King tweeted the following: I waited for a vaccination appointment and patience was rewarded. Drive-through in Pasco County, Moderna, no adverse effects. I think it was the National Guard running the show. Very cool. Get it done, folks. Let's kill this thing.
Nice.
So Edwin King is now vaccinated.
Nice.
At least partially.
Right.
From the coronavirus.
That's good.
So yeah, and that led me. I didn't tweet this because, frankly, I don't. They say never meet your heroes. So if I were to tweet this, Steven would have seen it, and we would have become best friends because it is such a brilliant joke. But so I'm just going to keep it close to the vest. More like Steven Vaccine. Am I right?
No, you're not.
No? Okay, well that's fine. I'll head down to Florida, Steve, to visit you sometime.
What?
Oh, he lives in Florida. Like he has a residence in Florida.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Like that's where he got the vaccine. Was
Oh, I see.
Yep.
Okay.
In Pasco County.
He probably goes down there for the winter.
Probably. Yeah.
Can't blame him.
Yep. Lives on Casey Key.
Oh wow! All down in the Keys. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yep. Okay, so all right, so that's enough bullshitting and check-ins and news and everything. So, yeah, let's get into our reviews. Like I said, we're going to be reviewing episodes 4 through 6, of The Stand on CBS All-Access, soon to be called Paramount Plus. Yeah, and like we did last time, we are going to be spoiling the episodes individually, as we go through the reviews. So, we're not going to do like a non-spoiler and spoiler review. We're just going to spoil the episodes as we go along. So, fair warning, let's get into episode 4, The House of the Dead.
All right, Tommy, you gotta ride the rest of the way.
I wish my main man Nick could come. I wish I didn't have to go all alone. Watch the moon and you'll be watching the moon.
Hey, Tommy, do you understand why Nick can't go with you?
Laws, yes. Go and watch, come back and tell.
The House of the Dead originally aired on CBS All-Access on January 7th, 2021. And the plot summary, courtesy of IMDb, is the Boulder Free Zone Committee looks to solidify their leadership and bolster the community with a town hall meeting, but Flagg continues to make inroads as he plots to destroy the newly forming society from within. So, Tiny, we're 4 episodes into this thing. Mm-hmm. We've discussed our feelings about episodes 1 through 3. How did you feel, kind of in broad terms, about the House of the Dead? And then we can kind of go beat by beat as I go through my stupid notes.
I thought this was a pretty solid episode. Mm-hmm. I liked the committee, like, kind of debating picking the spies and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. I thought that was good discussion, and there was some, I really liked the whole, when they met Dana Jurgens, and that whole confrontation on the road was really incredible. Yeah. So yeah, there were some good things in this episode for sure. But yeah, I think my enthusiasm started to wane a little bit for the series overall, during this episode, but I still think it's a solid episode. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I kind of thought that it had its ups and downs. it felt closer to what I thought the show should have been from the beginning. Like, all the stuff with the committee and the Boulder Free Zone and all that. Like, that is stuff that I feel like was done well, but belonged in, like, the first episode of the series to introduce us to things.
Yes.
And I'm going to forego the order of my notes and everything and just say that, well, I can actually dig into it here. So the episode opens with the committee at the town hall meeting.
Mm-hmm.
And what I thought was really good, like, I've been kind of a detractor of the nonlinear format, and with good cause.
Yeah.
But the way that the committee talking at the town hall is intercut with shots of the ad hoc committee, like, planning out that town hall meeting and figuring out, like, who speaks and like what exactly they're going to say and what they're not going to say. That intercutting thing, I felt worked really well. Mm-hmm. And really is how the series should have started.
Yeah.
Like I said last episode, that I feel like if they wanted to do the nonlinear thing, they should have introduced us to the Boulder Free Zone from the outset. Like have that be the kind of for lack of a better comparison, the island from Lost. Like, have the Boulder Free Zone be the island that the characters are in, and have all of their experiences during the outbreak and leading up to them getting to Boulder be the off-island flashbacks.
Yeah.
They could have spent a few episodes building that up, introducing the characters, introducing their struggles, and then we could have more of them as, like, committee members and seeing them as they're trying to reform society and everything. But here, we're 4 episodes in, and we're just getting this town hall meeting and getting that. And it just feels just so out of whack and out of order.
Yeah.
But I will say that the actual town hall meeting, I loved it quite a bit. I loved it. I think that the indignant Free Zone members being all shitty about, when is the power going to be back on? Like, okay, settle down.
For real, calm down.
You're one of maybe a few thousand people left on Earth. Like, you can go, like, by candlelight for a couple days.
Yeah, shut the hell up.
Yeah, like, that just felt way too contrived.
Yeah.
But I really liked the way that the committee was planning out the thing. And I've got to say, again, one of the MVPs of the show is, I hope I'm pronouncing his name right, but Jovan Adepo. Mm-hmm. When Larry takes over for Stu and he does, like, he works the crowd and he's getting the engagement up and everything, I'm like, it was a fist pumping, like, Larry Underwood. Like,
yeah, man,
that was really good.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Yeah, he's stolen some scenes for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then the other thing, so I don't know, it feels like as we're flashing back to the committee planning out the town hall meeting, Franny is arguing that they don't know the truth about, like, because they're arguing about what they need to say about Randall Flagg. And she's like, well, we don't really know the truth or anything, or we don't know what's real or if it's real. And that kind of got under my skin, because on the surface, I love, like, that's how it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be they're unsure of it and everything. But also, in the previous episode, they watched a guy who came into town with crucifix scars.
Right.
They watched him, like, be killed by a demon entity that spoke to them through his body. Like,
yeah,
there's not really much room for, questioning what's real and what's not.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, that's true. I agree. Yeah. And unfortunately, I feel like, the character of Glenn Bateman is supposed to be the voice of reason, and he's very, I don't even know how to put him in a box. Just very intellectual and not a man of faith, man of science kind of guy, right? And he continues that theme even through the next several episodes and stuff like that of like, I don't know if there's a God and stuff like that. I don't know if that's who Mother Abigail's talking to and everything. And I'm like, yeah, okay. I mean, I get that. I'm with you, but it's like, she came to you in your dreams and shit. Like, like you're all having the same dream. Like that's pretty supernatural and that's pretty incredible. Yeah. I don't know. Like that's an odd theme. And like if I feel like in the book he was having these opinions early on, and then he sort of evolved as a character in the book. But I don't see that as much in the series.
Absolutely. And it's a shame. And to that point about that kind of shared delusion of the dreams and everything, I kind of feel like, because he kind of talks about how in that scene, he like lightly talks about, well, we don't know what we saw or whatever. Cause they bring up like, oh yeah, we saw him die and everything. But he like kind of dismisses it. And I'm like, honestly, if the show was better written and like it had stronger writing, I feel like this would have been a good place for them to invent like this other element of it, where like what if they're going to go all in on like showing the visions of the man in black to the committee members and have him threatening him and everything, like it would have been an interesting avenue if they had the time and the writing prowess of it, to like have them discuss like what if this is a byproduct of being immune to this illness? Like what if the dreams aren't real? We're just all having this shared delusion because our body is able to fight off this deadly disease. Like I don't know the logistics.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So I don't know. It would have been better, but whatever.
Right.
And then actually at the kind of a big scene in the book, sort of, is Harold calling for the ad hoc committee to become official. And in the book, he does it in a kind of like this, like kind of a Norman Bates, like, I wouldn't hurt a fly. This will throw them off and everything. But we don't really get that in this show. Yeah. It's just like, he's just doing it. Like, they don't set up, like, how, like, the only way that's weird or that has any kind of, lasting appeal is just because we saw him talk about killing Stuart Dogcock Rudman 3 episodes ago. Right. Like it's not part of his plan, but yeah. I don't know. So then Harold goes home after the meeting and Nadine's there and we get again like this whole show it's so frustrating to me.
It is.
Because it is introducing characters and introducing character dynamics and it's just it's throwing it at the wall. It's not properly setting it up. Like, yeah. Flag told Nadine, like, oh, I already have, like, the chosen one to kill the old woman and her 5 puppets and everything. You just need to pull the trigger. And it's like, okay, fine. But it's just like, it's moving through the paces of the story instead of organically bringing it to us. It's just him saying, like, this is what you need to do, and then her doing that exact thing. I don't know. It just feels so something.
There's so many like half characters and quarter characters.
Yes.
And these are tentpole fucking characters. Like Nick, I'm kind of coming to this a little early, but I think it's fine to bring it in here. Nick Andros, through the 8 episodes I've watched, is half the character of the books.
Yep.
If that. Mother Abigail is barely a character.
Oh my, yeah.
Barely a character in the show. And I'll talk about it more other characters later, but yeah, it's insane to me. Like, it makes me appreciate the 90s series so much. Like what Ruby Dee did with the character was eons better than, and I think it's writing. Like, I'm not shitting on Whoopi Goldberg. I think her performance has been satisfactory, but Ruby Dee's version was so much more just lovable, and you wanted to give her a hug, and she was so much more involved, and the tumultuous thoughts she goes through and all that stuff are there and present, and it's just so not in this series.
Yeah, the thing that I keep coming back to, as like I've watched the 6 episodes that we are in the process of reviewing, the thing that I keep coming back to is that I have read this book several times, and we've reviewed the book on the podcast in parts. We have spent hours of our lives dissecting this text And watching the adaptation from the 90s and dissecting that, talking about that, I know this story about as well as I'll ever know it, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
It is almost impressive the way that the people that made this adaptation are able to make a story that I know so intimately, and I know the characters so vividly and so well, and it is a triumph on their part that they made a product that makes me just not give a shit about any of the characters.
Yep.
And it is one of the most frustrating things about this entire adaptation.
Yeah.
Because we'll talk when we get to the episode about this and everything, but there's like pivotal moments in the story that like wrecked me when I read them, and like when I saw them in the show, I'm like rolling my eyes because I'm just, it's so weird that they don't get it. Like,
I know it is.
It's so frustrating.
And we know that like Josh Boone is a big Stephen King fan.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's so weird.
Yep. So after Harold and Nadine kind of have their premature ejaculation thing, whatever. We get a flashback to Harold and Franny, and Harold is creepily watching her sleep and everything, and then he tries to kiss her when she wakes up and everything, and it's just super cringy.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. I do like the writing in this flashback though. Even if it's slightly frustrating.
I really like Owen Teague in this.
Oh my.
Yeah.
He
did a great job.
He's fantastic.
Yeah.
Like that entitled, like nice guy trademark, thing, and that kind of like entitled, like it's expected that he will win her or get her, quote.
Right.
And she's just not that into you, dude.
He has this look on his face and like his body language, like this is gonna work. He's like, this is gonna happen. This is gonna work. And it's just like, dude, it's so not.
Right.
Yeah, I really, that was good acting on his part.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But also the dialogue, it just, so like I'm back and forth on this. How did you feel about this line of dialogue where Harold was talking about how it's meant to be for them, and they're meant to be together because it's the apocalypse and everything. And so she says, no, it's not. I will never feel these things for you, which that's awesome. The direct and to the point.
Mm-hmm.
But Harold says, oh, is this about Stu Redman? And like, in my notes, I have, you mean the guy you met on the road that one time?
For 5 minutes?
For 5 minutes?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. And then I started thinking like, or is this after they join up later? And I was like, in all caps, I have, this is the problem with the nonlinear structure.
Right.
You don't spend enough time with these characters and you lose the plot. I don't know.
I agree.
Yeah. And then so after that, we get the roadblock thing with the guy.
Yeah.
That was intense, and that was really cool. How'd you feel about that scene overall?
I actually really, really liked it. I was like kind of on the edge of my seat with it. And obviously I knew that, Harold and Franny aren't going to die or anything like that. But, it was just so well done that it was really intense. And seeing Harold kind of crumble, was, good Schadenfreude, I guess.
Yeah.
And just entertaining and in keeping with the character as well.
Yeah.
'Cause he's not, he's fumbling with the gun and stuff like that when he meets Stu Redman, when they had their little meet cute. And he's fumbling with the gun, and like that's just so in keeping with his character. I thought that was great.
That's a good point. I like that.
But yeah, so I just, again, great acting by Owen Teague, and I didn't look up the name of the actor who was the aggressor guy, but he was really effective and over the top Trump supporter kind of guy.
He was, and like he does that whole alpha male snowflake bullshit thing, which I got a kick out of, but also I'm like, that's great. I'm in line with like what they're saying and everything, because that's all fucking ridiculous and everything. But also it's like, I maybe spend like, I appreciate the injection of social commentary and everything into this, but maybe develop the characters first and then toy with the social commentary stuff.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. Yep. And then the group gets together, and then Stu and Franny have like a little sweet moment by the fire. Mm-hmm. And I love the juxtaposition of their scene versus Harold and Franny's scene.
Yeah, totally.
Earlier, like it reminds me of what I said about liking the difference in how Larry handles Rita and how Larry lives with Nadine. In episode 2, like here we see these two characters that are like, they are on the same wavelength. They're on the same level. They're speaking openly about their experience and their fears and everything. And like, he's comforting her. She's confiding in him and everything. Like, this is a very organic and really good, like, demonstration of just two people connecting on that level. And it's really cool how it's juxtaposed with Harold trying to force an expected connection and her just not having it because she's just not into you, dude.
Yeah.
It's I really like the way that was handled.
Right. I agree, and I think it's I like the juxtaposition as well. Mm-hmm. But again, a failure of the show with the characterization are we supposed to think that Stu is already having feelings for her at this point? Like, yeah. I don't know. Like, was it like a love at first sight thing when they met for the first time? Did he start feeling things when he saw the painting that Glenn painted? I don't know. And I think part of it is just the absolute shit writing when it comes to their relationship, because there is zero intimacy between them until, like, I think it's episode 6 or whatever. Yeah. Later on, it's just not there. Like, you kind of know they're together or whatever. Right. But there's just no intimacy. Like, it's just awful. And like, absolutely. I don't know if if Stu is approaching this conversation with her from a point of, I want to win her affection, or is it just, I'm just trying to be a decent human being and she went through something traumatic, so I want to comfort her and talk to her and get to know her. And I don't know. And that's my issue with that scene. Mm-hmm. Credit to James Marsden and what's her name? Odessa Young. Odessa Young. I think they both did a good job in the scene, and I liked them. Odessa Young is growing on me throughout these episodes, her as a performer. Right. So yeah, I credit to them. I just think it's just, again, absolute dog cock writing. Right. It's the thing that I struggle with throughout all of these episodes is that it feels like everything is just piecemealed together. It's like we're not getting the evolution of, like, Larry following Harold's signs. We're not getting Stu, like, growing an affection for Franny. We're not getting, like, the animosity that Harold feels toward the world, like, organically built up. It's just we're seeing bits and pieces out of sync and out of the timeline. And we're just expected to just put it together as character development, and it just doesn't work at all. Right. It's jumbled up puzzle pieces. Yep. So let's jump ahead and talk about the committee deciding on sending the spies. Yeah. Which is another issue with the writing. That's like, okay, you have the same episode where they're setting up the town hall meeting, and they're doing, like, the big town hall meeting where they're introducing the committee, essentially, and they're acting as a committee. And in that same episode, you have them, like, figuring out to send out spies. Like, again, it's just all jumbled. Like they should have done the setting up the committee in the early episodes so that we had the groundwork to have, like, actual stakes at stake with setting up the spies. Yeah. Just, God damn it. Yeah, and, like, so the spies, of course, are Dana Jurgens, Judge Ferris, and Tom Cullen. Mm-hmm. And we get just bits and pieces of them, like, saying, like, oh, okay, well, who do you think should be a spy? Oh, I think Dana Jurgens should. We saw her a few scenes ago, and she's a badass. And she confirms that, and she's like, yeah, I'm gonna be a badass. I'm gonna go and be a spy. This is literally the second time I'm on screen in this entire series. Let me go into the lion's den. And then Judge Ferris is like, well, she's old, so let's send her. Again, not even a character.
No,
like, just
no.
not present at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Tom Cullen gets a flashback because he's a major character.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I like the flashback, but I don't know. I will say, to their credit, I'm glad that they didn't do the hypnotism thing.
Yeah, I agree. I think that was And again, I think they nailed that character.
Yeah. Oh,
again,
absolutely.
to their credit, him, and I forget the actor's name.
Brad William Henke.
Henke, yeah, that's right. Brad, yeah. So he crushing it.
Yes. So we do get a flashback of 3 months earlier because Nick at the committee is saying like, well, he'll surprise you. Because they're debating whether or not they should send Tom.
Yeah.
And the flashback is Julie Lowry, kind of messing with them and then firing a gun at them, and Tom saving Nick and getting them away from crazy Julie Lowry.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about that flashback?
I thought that was a good way to kind of combine a few things, actually, structurally. I think it was well done. Because, in the book, there's the whole tornado thing.
Yeah.
That would have been a bit of a detour, I think. So I like the way they kind of combined the whole Julie Lowry interaction with that sort of same sentiment. I thought that was pretty good. But again, just the relationship between Nick Andros and Tom Cullen is not realized to any kind of satisfactory degree.
Yeah.
Like, they tried a little bit, and there's a few scenes, but it's like, compared to the 90s miniseries, and then compared to the book, it's just a joke.
Yeah, absolutely.
Basically. Yeah.
Yeah. When they get out of that like department store warehouse where they are, did you catch the Stephen King cameo?
No.
No.
Oh, well, yeah. Was it a cardboard cutout?
No, it was on the Hemmingford Home sign.
That's right. He was
like
that's right. Yeah, it was like on a poster. Yeah, I did see that.
Yeah, I got a huge. That put a smile on my face.
Yeah.
And also, I'm like it seems not derogatory or anything, but it's like, oh, Stephen King's old now, guys.
Just kind of breaking balls a little bit. Yeah, like, you old man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was funny.
How'd you feel? So the titular House of the Dead. So from my memory, like, Hemmingford Home is in Nebraska in the book, and like that's where she is, and then they go to Boulder.
Yeah.
In this iteration, though, Hemmingford Home is like a retirement community that she lives in.
In Boulder.
In Boulder, yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm fine with that, but I thought it was an interesting thing, except that we just see a piece of it, and it's not developed or it's not set up or anything, but she's in this retirement community or this convalescence home, whatever, and she's surrounded just by dead bodies, and she's talking to the dead bodies. And again, it's a small vignette.
Yeah.
And it's not anything like, because that could have been developed into something more to actually develop the character. Like, wait, is she crazy, or like, what's going on?
Right.
But yeah, I don't know. But
yeah. And they had plenty. That's the other thing. They have so much time compared to the 90s miniseries, that was 4 episodes, right?
Yeah.
Then they were about an hour and a half each.
Yep.
So, I mean, 4.5 hours versus 9 hours.
Yeah.
And we're still like missing these big chunks and like this important stuff that was actually in the other series and was, again, that series was pretty solid and decent, and like, get past the campiness and it's a pretty solid, kind of good series that like you can enjoy. But like, this is, it's missing so much crap, and it's crazy that they didn't find a way to work huge stuff in,
right,
and realize characters and character relationships, and like, that's, if you don't do anything else, you have to do that.
Exactly.
The 90s series did that, and it failed in other areas, but it was still enjoyable because of that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It cared about the characters.
Right.
It's so mind-boggling.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But a thing that I did like in this episode was the sending off of the spies.
Uh-huh.
The way you said that reminded me of the Institute, the sheriff.
Oh, yeah.
So, I really like the way, again, Tom Cullen, I love, like, the performance there.
Yeah.
Or he's like, I wish that my main man Nick could come. I thought that was really beautiful, and then it's followed up with him like hugging Larry and being like, "You have an earring."
Yeah.
I was like, that's charming as hell.
It really is
great.
Yeah. So lovable.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then what I loved about the sending off of the spies sequence is that it's there's voiceover of Franny writing to her, presumably her unborn child, and part of it is like she says that I hope you can forgive us for what we've done in terms of like sending these people off to their certain death. I love that because it's emotional, it's foreboding, it is in keeping with Stephen King, like the way he does foreshadowing and everything. Just like this whole sequence with sending off the spies, I really feel like it's just what the show should have been across the board.
Yeah.
And then to kind of close out this episode, we get Harold and Nadine getting the dynamite while the committee turns on the power and everything.
Right.
The reason I bring up the turning on the power is I thought it was so awesome to have Larry Underwood like on the roof playing the guitar, playing America the Beautiful.
That was cool.
That was really cool. And I will go on record and say this. I think that is an improvement over them singing the national anthem at the committee meeting in the book.
Yeah, I would say so too. Yeah.
Yep. But as Harold and Nadine are getting the dynamite, Teddy Wyzak fulfills his very clear destiny from the second that he's on screen in the first episode. Like he had a target on his back.
Yep.
The entire he was dead from the moment he started talking in this series.
I agree.
Yeah, and I mean it's fine. Like it's fine. How'd you feel about this scene?
Yeah, it was sad, and I thought it was again pretty compelling how they're sneaking around to get the explosives while everybody else is distracted with the power coming back on, and you know it was a satisfactory confluence of events that Teddy found him and he had to kill him and stuff like that. Again, it was predictable, right? But still effective, I think. And again, it's something that's not in the book and it's not in the other series, and it's
right.
Yeah, I thought it was like, okay, you did something. Congratulations, you achieved something. Yeah. Derivative as it might be, but
right. And I don't fault it for being like predictable or anything. Like I don't want to knock against the show for that, but it also just feels like you have such flimsy characterization across the board that, of course, this one character is going to stick out like a sore thumb.
Yeah.
When you're spending so much time with him and not leveling that with characters that are pivotal in the story and will be pivotal later. Even if you're just, spoiler for our next thing or the one after that, I think. I don't know. But even if it's just something as simple as showing them jerking off to an explosion that they're setting. So we'll get to that.
Yeah.
But overall thoughts on House of the Dead?
Yeah, it was a decent episode. It was a solid episode. Again, there's some plot points that actually worked out and that were kind of surprising and kind of fun. And a few decent character things. But overall, like, again, my enthusiasm, I was like, it should be better by this point. It's like,
absolutely.
we're coming to the halfway point. I should be more excited than I am.
Yes.
And it's just not there for me. So
same here. And honestly, like, it's pretty solid overall, but like my blurb that I have written out is pretty solid overall, but the problems with the series are deeper than single episode quality can be.
Yeah.
The structure is still what's holding it back. Which is nice because the next episode kind of breaks free from that structure.
Right.
Yeah. Alright, so that's our review of episode 4, The House of the Dead, and now we're going to go into our review of episode 5, Fear and Loathing in New Vegas.
Yeah.
Of course, we're going to spoil the episode, so fair warning.
I say, their time is at an end. Our time has begun. Citizens of New Vegas, welcome to freedom!
This episode aired just 2 days before young Tiny's birthday on January 14th, 2021. The plot summary is, in Las Vegas, Dana tries to get closer to Flag. In Boulder, Stu and Franny have Harold to dinner. And so, really, my first note is, Vegas, baby!
Oh my god.
Yeah, what did you think overall about this episode, just in broad terms, and we can go kind of dig into it a little bit deeper? And how do you feel about the depiction of New Vegas?
Oh man, so this is where the train really starts to derail for me. It's just my enthusiasm is pretty much gone at this point, because it's strictly because of the depiction of New Vegas. Because I was excited to see what they did with that, because it's not. I feel like New Vegas in the 90s series and even in the book isn't. You don't have a great overall picture of it, and it's not super descriptive, and that's fine. I'm not faulting it for that, but Josh Boone and company went for like a full vision of it here, and they did a few things right, and I think that were actually very effective. Like it has this whole Sodom and Gomorrah feel, this very hedonistic, like free sex and violence, do whatever you want, and you know, and it's really disturbing. I was actually very disturbed by it, like the drained pool where they make people fight to the death, like that's fucked up, and it was I was like genuinely like, oh my god, this is awful. But juxtapose that, or that is coupled with whatever the fuck Nat Wolff is doing with Lloyd Henry, and what the fuck is he like? I just can't. And then I think Randall Flagg goes off the rails too. And like, again, I'm kind of getting to later episodes, but like, just he gets really goofy. Lloyd Henry is a goddamn cartoon. I just. Oh my god, it just went so off the fucking rails for me, and I can't, like, he's a fuckboy. Like that's what came to mind too. Like Lloyd Henry is just like a fuckboy who has a disturbing job that he can't get. I don't know. I thought it was such a weird interpretation of that character, and he is New Vegas, right? That he's supposed to be the iteration of that town, and he just threw that all off, like all everything they were building with the disturbing practices and whatever that goes on at New Vegas was just completely thrown off by whatever the fuck he's doing with this character. And I talked to you briefly that they interviewed Nat Wolff on the Kingcast,
right?
And I really respect him as an actor. I still respect him as an actor, and he interpreted that character a certain way, and he wanted to approach that character in that way, and that's fine. I respect that. But I just feel like it was the way, way, way wrong decision. And he also said that Josh Boone wanted the free zone and the characters in the free zone to be like the antagonists of like a Steven Spielberg type movie. Protagonist. Yeah, like a Steven Spielberg
like an
type
Amblin
movie.
Entertainment protagonist.
Yes, there you go.
Yeah.
And then he wanted New Vegas to be like Oliver Stone villains.
Right.
And that's kind of what they got. Like Natural Born Killers, crazy off the wall, goofy ass shit, just not done very well. Right. Which I'm hit or miss on Oliver Stone, but anyways, I was like, that's actually what they achieved, but with a weird ass nonlinear storytelling characteristic that didn't go very well. But I am just so completely against what they did with Lloyd Henry and a lot of the New Vegas characters. They were just so off the fucking wall and over the top, and just not. Like there were so many things that were effective, but then they would cut to one of these goofy ass characters, most notably Lloyd Henry, that I just and like Julie Lowry was over the top too, not to the Lloyd Henry extent, but I just could not get behind it, and it completely took me out of this whole fucking series.
That's interesting, because I can't fault you for anything. I can't fault your stars any of that. but I can't fault any of that, or fault you on any of that. But something about the overall aesthetic of New Vegas kind of worked for me.
Yeah.
Just because it felt like this kind of like late 80s, early 90s, like punk rock, like apocalyptic kind of depiction. Like the announcer of the fights is this woman with this feathery mohawk.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that stuff is kind of cool.
Kind of Mad Max type stuff.
Yeah. And I can meet it halfway there and appreciate what it did for, like, in terms of that and that overall aesthetic.
Yeah.
And I can even kind of get on board with Nat Wolff's portrayal of Lloyd Henry. Almost. Like we talked before we reviewed this, we talked a while ago when you first saw it, and like I rewatched it tonight because I didn't catch, or I didn't remember, like, the line that you said that was so ridiculous that Lloyd Henry said. And I made note of it, and yeah, were you going to do it?
I was.
Okay, go ahead.
Welcome to heaven! Like, he seriously goes
so
for, like,
fucking prolonged.
15 syllables. Oh my god.
It is so, like, it reminds me of, like, I've like an idiot. I'm not like an idiot, but I've been watching a lot of Family Guy just in the background.
Yeah.
And, like, Family Guy, in my opinion, is one of the laziest written laziest written, like, shows, because every single episode has at least one really ridiculous, elongated joke. And I have this theory that the writers of Family Guy build these scenes into their episodes so that they can lengthen or shorten it so that they can meet the time for the episode, so they don't have to do the extra work of actually editing or writing a plot that will fit into a 22-minute runtime.
Wow.
And it's because it's like almost every episode.
Yeah.
And, like, that's exactly how this felt. Like,
Yeah.
All right, Nat, let's just, like, give it your all. And then
Right.
we'll cut it down, or we'll loop it if we need more time.
Oh my god. Take a deep breath, Nat.
Yes.
Really belt it out there. God.
Yeah.
And he's like, in several scenes, he's dressed like fucking Eddie Murphy, delirious. Yes. And he's wearing a goddamn fedora. And, like, what the fuck were they doing? He's wearing like some kind of, like, Versace crazy ass silk shirt with all these patterns on it. And at one point where, like, I think it's in a different episode, but I'll just bring it up here. He's like, I think maybe he's taking one of the characters up to the penthouse to meet Randall Flagg, and, like, they're walking through the main floor where everybody's having orgies and shit, and, like, he walks by these two people who are having sex, and he's like, "Ooh, yeah," or something like that, and he starts, like, pantomiming, like, humping the air. I'm like,
God.
What the fuck is happening? Is this like HBO's Real Sex? Like, what the fuck is going on here? I don't know. Is he 13?
He's like one step short of, like, carrying around a large pizza and be like, "Did you order a large sausage?"
Exactly. Yeah. Oh my god.
Something about his style and his demeanor, it is taken to 11, and that is a wrong choice in my opinion.
Yeah.
But there's something about, like, the kind of, like, very goofy flashiness and the flamboyant nature of his character as he's just going all in on that. I mean, he's like a coked out weird guy.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of works, but it also doesn't at the same time, or it's like too much. Yeah.
It's way too much.
Yep.
Yeah.
So kind of going back and talking more about New Vegas and stuff, there's something that I kind of want to get your read on this, Tiny. When we see the first scene is them, like, introducing Lloyd to Dana and everything, and Dana's like, that also kind of bothered me, like, "Oh, you've been asking a lot of questions." Like, 20 minutes ago in the show, she was being sent off to Vegas. Like,
right.
Just, it's vignettes. It's like, don't, like, just fucking show us. Don't tell us these things.
Right.
But then we get Tom Cullen arriving, and, like, he's almost put into the slave pit or whatever.
Right.
But then one of the guards says, Randall Flagg's policy, if anyone comes here willingly, they're a citizen automatically.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, we don't get a lot of that in terms of, like, we don't get a lot of Vegas or Flag's regime in the book, because that is held back until the last portion of the book, which is the shortest portion of the book. How did you feel about that? Because there's certain aspects of that, and later in this episode, some things that make it seem like they're playing into Randall Flagg as this manipulator and this person that's manipulating people into just accepting this world. Did that strike a chord with you at all, or how did you feel about it?
It definitely, it stuck out to me for sure, and I don't remember there being a line like that in the book.
I don't think so either.
Yeah, and it wasn't I liked it as an idea, because I think the debauchery, for lack of a better word, was nowhere near as present in the book, as it is in this series, and I feel like the characters in Vegas were much more subdued and muted and normal, for lack of a better term, than what was depicted in this series as well. And so I feel like, especially with, like, when Trash Can Man shows up, he's accepted, even though he's a really odd, antisocial, strange person. He's accepted, and he's because, like, naturally becomes part of the group. And I feel like that aspect of the story couldn't happen in this type of Vegas, because it is so fucked up, frankly, where they have, like, slave pits and, again, people fighting each other to the death and all this crazy shit going on. It doesn't feel that concept where that guy says anyone who comes here freely is a citizen, that seems out of place for the Vegas they present in the series. Now,
it really does.
For the Vegas in the book, I think that makes sense, and that would be a good saying, but I don't have an issue with it. Like, I think it was sort of convenient for the plot, I guess. But I didn't think much about it other than that, really. Again, I think it's a little out of place for this version of New Vegas. But for the book, that would make sense. A policy like that. Again, I think it was just kind of convenience, because, it allowed Tom Cullen to be put into a position where he could, escape eventually, basically.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And let's follow the thread of New Vegas, and then we'll talk about Boulder here in a bit. But I just want to say this one thing: Dana and Julie, like, they're setting up the threesome with Lloyd. I mean, we get the kind of standard, like, she's hiding the scissors and she's, like, doing that. Like, it's all just. It just feels piecemealed. It's like, okay, now she's in this room, like she's doing that. It's like they're manufacturing the suspense. Yeah. But whatever. But I do want to say that I like Julie Lowry as a character. I think she's interesting and she's dangerous and everything. But I really like this way that they're playing it with her and Lloyd. Because she's playing him, and, like, she has that like that look over to Dana earlier in the episode where she's just, like, kind of mimicking, like, vomiting when she says something about, like, calls Lloyd daddy or something.
Yeah.
And but, like, I love that she, like, she's kind of, like, fooling around with Lloyd, and then she's purposely saying Flagg's name.
Yeah.
And I love that. I don't know. I really got a huge kick out of that.
I thought that was entertaining.
Yeah,
totally. I also feel like this whole progression in this episode of Dana was really a disservice to her character, because
me too.
Again, she's realized really well in the book as being, like, this kind of badass. And they did a solid job with it in the 90s series too, like, especially by the end. She really cons her way in here,
right?
And everybody's kind of buying her con, if you will.
Yeah.
But in this series, I feel like she's so, like, obvious.
Exactly. It's they're playing up the nerves of her, like, the nervous nature of her, because they want it to be this suspenseful thing and everything, and it's just completely discrediting or discounting the actual, like, character work from the text, where, like you said, she's a badass. She's like, she infiltrates Flagg's, like, organization, and she becomes like she becomes involved with his right-hand man.
Right.
And, like, that's a calculated thing. And here it's just, like, she's along for the ride with Julie Lowry, and she's just kind of, like, hiding, and she's not sure how to proceed. It's not...
And she goes
compelling.
and she goes and finds Tom Cullen and tells him to leave.
Yeah.
Like, that's not that's
like,
that's
why?
horrible. Right.
Why? What reason?
I know.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that made me mad, because I was like, why the fuck is she doing this?
Yeah.
Like, because again, part of her being a badass is that she was a really fucking good spy.
Yes.
And she had everybody singing her tune and completely strung along, except Randall Flagg, because he can see into people's minds and shit.
Right.
He knew who she was already.
Yeah.
There's nothing she could do about that. But Lloyd Henry was completely fooled by her.
Right.
Along with everybody else. And she was there for like a month or whatever.
Right.
And this just was so rushed, and she was... I'm not discrediting, what's her name, Natalie Martinez, the actress?
Yes.
I'm not discrediting her, I'm discrediting the writing and what they wanted her character to do, because she's just so obvious, like, these looks and this nervousness that she has. I'm like, that is not Dana Jurgens at all.
No, not at all.
I did not agree with that.
Yeah. Also, point out, Natalie Martinez, an alum of Stephen King. She
Under
was
the Dome.
in Under the Dome.
Yep.
And also an alum of CBS All-Access. She was in a season 2 episode of The Twilight Zone.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. Also, to go back to the scene where Julie is fucking with Lloyd and says Flagg's name to kind of get him out of the mood and get him to not perform. In my notes, I just have the word Flagsid. Like he went Flagsid.
God damn it.
So let's talk about the big scene with Dana meeting with Flagg.
Yeah.
How did you feel about this scene and how it played out?
It was okay. I feel like, to kind of talk about Randall Flagg, I feel like we were really building towards him and building towards something where he was going to really come out of his shell. And I feel like, I don't want to jump ahead, but I feel like it never happens. And I feel like this scene was going to be the start of that, where we were going to really start to feel just how formidable and scary and terrifying he is as a character. And it didn't happen in this scene. It wasn't there. I feel like the 90s miniseries did a better job with this scene.
Oh, interesting.
I really wasn't a fan. Again, it felt abrupt and rushed, and Dana was just so along for the ride and shocked by everything, and again, just not in keeping with her character at all. Like, in the book and in the series, she stabs him and it doesn't do anything, and so she immediately is just like, well, I'm fucked, and she kills herself. Yeah. And it's crazy, and it's fucking kick ass.
Oh, yeah.
But in this version, I feel like she's so, oh my God, what just happened? What, really? Like, she's a deer in the fucking headlights, and I'm like, no.
In her sticking the bottle into her throat, it's like, it's this, again, it has this weird, like, sadness to it. Like, well, okay, I'm gonna have to do this. Like, it's very, like, upsetting, and it's a weird thing, because it's not how she should be. It's like, she's doing her duty to save her friends and save the people that they're sending.
In the book, it's like a fuck you.
Yes.
Like, she looks him in the eye and slits her own throat. It's like, fuck you. And it's like, hell yeah, that's badass as shit.
Yes.
But that's not at all what happens here.
I will say that the scene, like, where Flagg, there's two things about Flagg in the scene that I really liked. One is that he tries to undercut Dana's expectations of him, and he's like, she's like, what are you gonna string, like, crucify me or something? Then he's like, no, I'm just gonna send you home. And then she's like, and you're just stringing up all these people and crucifying them and everything on phone poles. And then he's like, regular people like the guy that, held you captive and assaulted you and stuff. Like, those are the kind of people that are like, those are the kind of people that I'm crucifying. Like, he's trying to manipulate her into coming to his side. And I like that. And then also I like the him trying to get the name of the third spy, which is true to the book and everything. And the thing that I love, and I'm upset that this isn't a bigger thing in this series, apparently, is Dana says, you can see so much, but you can't see that. That must be driving you fucking insane. And then that's when she stabs him with the scissors.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that out of context, that in its own bubble is badass. It's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And it plays into this thing that I loved about the book, where he is an emperor with no clothes. He is someone who is kind of, he's not a, he's not in as much control as he purports to be. And that kind of power dynamic is not really present, except for in that one line. So yeah, so that's the end of that, and then let's talk a little bit about Boulder.
Yeah.
So okay. There's some stuff that happened in this. Jesus. So my notes are all out of sync. So we get Teddy Wyzak is discovered and everything. Harold. There's a scene in an episode of Wings from the 90s where Lowell, played by Thomas Hayden Church, finds out that a friend of his has died, and he the people, his friends put together this intervention to kind of like break the news to him, and then like they explain like, oh, there's like however many stages of grief, so he's going to go through all of these things. He's going to go through denial, anger, bargaining, depression, acceptance. And then he, like, the scene, it's kind of brilliant because Thomas Hayden Church just plays it. He just, like, immediately goes through each and every one. And it's hilarious. Yeah. And that's kind of what Harold does in this scene.
Yeah.
To a lesser extent, and it works because it's Harold acting. And I like Owen Teague's kind of layered performance there where he's pretending to be this upset when he knows the truth.
Totally, yeah.
Yeah. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I agree. I like that part. Again, you can sort of see through it, and but it makes sense. Like, it's the opposite of what, Dana was doing in New Vegas. Like, that's not in keeping with the character, but what Harold's doing here is in keeping with the character, because he's pretending, and it makes sense, and he's not some badass. He's Harold.
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree. I liked that scene a lot too.
Yep. And then kind of moving along, there's one scene with Mother Abigail scolding Nick about sending the spies, which
could not give less of a fuck.
I know. Like,
I just didn't care.
That is so it bothers me in a weird way. Like, because I don't remember the book being about like this whole, like, the sending spies is in defiance of Mother Abigail.
Yeah.
Like, it's weird. They're creating this conflict. It seems solely to fill time, like to manufacture this drama that doesn't exist or shouldn't exist, when they should allocate that time to developing the fucking characters.
Yeah.
But I will say that since this is like the one scene with Mother Abigail and Nick and all that, like the way that she's scolding him kind of reminds me of like that archetype of like the police captain berating loose cannon.
Right.
So like I have in my notes, I have, damn it, Nick, you're a loose cannon. I guess the rules don't apply to you. You're suspended. Hand over your gun and your eye patch now.
Nice. That's funny.
Yeah. So yeah, and then we get more, we get our one, indication of Nadine and Larry having a romantic connection of some kind, because Nadine is dreaming of Larry, and then she eventually goes and, propositions him, but he shuts her down. So there's that. In one episode, it just bothers me.
Yeah, and it again was really thrown together, and just it seemed out of place.
Yeah.
For the character that they had presented.
Yes.
In the book, again, it's a huge fucking pivotal scene, and it's really unfortunate and tragic. And again, they did a solid job with it in the '90s miniseries.
Yeah.
But it was out of place in this. In this series and with her character, it didn't.
I agree.
Yeah.
And then we get Franny asking Larry to break into Harold's house. This is after she has a scene where she invites him over to dinner, Harold over to dinner after he just got jerked off in the locker room.
Yeah.
And it's like I love that scene with Franny and Larry. I do, when he's chopping wood and she's asking him to break into Harold's house. Like, I like that because that is a character scene between two characters in the committee, in the Boulder Free Zone, like, not conspiring, but they're trying to work out something to figure out what's going on. I like that on paper. The problem is, I don't understand why the fuck she's asking that of him, because I don't see the suspicion that she has of Harold. Because again, like every fucking thing in the show, they're telling us things and not showing them to us.
Right.
It is so frustrating to me.
Mm-hmm.
There's just no buildup of her doubt. And because of that, the scene in the hallway where she invites him to dinner is like the one scene where you need to have that kind of growing hesitance or that growing doubt. And like that puts so much weight on that scene and none of that is there.
Yeah.
It's just, it's annoying.
Yeah. And that's the dinner scene was just weird.
It was, yeah.
I don't know why Harold chose to have that weird confrontational moment.
I agree at first.
It was almost like he was giving himself away.
It does feel that way, but I think that it was an awkward thing to use as a pretense to go upstairs and leave the nanny cam. Because he's like, well, can I go to the bathroom and splash some water on my face?
Yeah.
Which, I mean, there's like a million different ways you can do that.
Yeah. I don't know. Is it just for his character? It seemed because he's usually so calculated.
Yeah.
And that seemed,
and he's
very misguided.
Yeah, and he, like you said, it does give him away. It's like it's too, because he, like, his whole persona is pretending to be normal, like having the Tom Cruise picture.
Right.
Yeah. And then, so that's intercut with Larry breaking into the house. I mean, that's all fine stuff. Like, it's kind of weird. I do want to point out, because I know that in particular, I know Robert in Utah, who is a listener, would kill me if I didn't bring this up. There is, first of all, the show has done a really good job of having good needle drops of music, like licensed
Yeah,
music.
totally.
Yeah. And in the scene where Larry is walking through the house and everything, it is scored by the song Goodbye by Apparat, which is apparently the theme music for Dark.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, which we still need to watch and review for Obsessive Viewer.
We do.
We will, I promise. But I will say that use of that song in that moment, it was really cool.
Yeah.
And it makes me kind of definitely want to see the show, Dark.
Yeah, it's a tense moment.
Yep. And then we get kind of just another kind of manufactured suspense thing with, Harold leaving, and then Franny having to call Larry, and it's just very much just like cookie cutter suspense television.
Yeah.
And it's fine.
Right.
And then kind of the closing thought, for the whole episode is, Harold the voyeur. That was creepy. That was unsettling.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Creepy. But yeah, that was like the first actual moment of intimacy that we ever saw between Stu and Fran.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I agree.
And yeah.
And I want to say that I don't know if this is I don't know if this is an intentional reference point or anything, because it's kind of a stretch, but Harold's little basement with the screens and everything reminded me a lot of Mr. Mercedes and Brady Hartsfield's kind of command center in the basement.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yep. And then the episode closes out with Ray Brentwood finding Mother A's note on the door and Abigail leaving the Boulder Free Zone, which fine. Yep. And then the closing credits is scored to Don't Fear the Reaper by Blue Oyster Cult.
Nice.
Which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
So overall thoughts?
Yeah, this is where the train started to derail for me. And just I cannot get behind a lot of what's happening in New Vegas.
Yeah.
But again, they nailed a few things and it was so effective, but it was just completely off put by what they chose to do with the character of Lloyd Henry. And I just can't.
I can understand that. Yeah, it's a mess. I like the aesthetics of New Vegas and everything. Just it's like I said, it's a fault of the structure of the entire show. It is an uphill climb and it's a losing battle.
Yeah.
So that's our review of Fear and Loathing in New Vegas. All right, so we are going to finish out this episode with a review of episode 6, The Vigil.
You're my only connection to the world before all of this shit happened. I need that.
Don't start pretending like you care about me. You think I didn't see how you treated me? Like I was the plague itself.
You think nobody cared about you, but it's just not true. We were there all along. All the people who cared about you were there all along, and we still are.
Which originally aired on CBS All-Access, soon to be Paramount Plus. A mere 5 days after young Tiny's birthday. It aired January 21st, 2021. The plot summary is the trash can man, Jesus Christ, makes his way to New Vegas while Flag and Abigail meet for the first time. So I don't have many notes for this. So the trash can man, let's just talk about that. Ezra Miller, we get the opening scene with him setting the bomb and setting it off, jerking off to it, which fine. I don't think he really jerked off in the book.
Right.
But I don't know. I will say the visual effects of the bomb exploding, the kind of oil rigs or whatever it was that exploded. Little rough.
Yeah.
And like, I wouldn't nitpick that if the story did not have the main climax of the whole story wasn't kind of contingent on visual effects.
Right.
So that makes me a little bit nervous for what's to come, but it also was a little bit nervous for what was coming.
I was going to say, what's to come is the trash can man.
Yes.
Yeah.
How'd you feel about Ezra Miller as a trash can man? And I'm not going to make that joke.
Well, to part number 2 of what the fuck are they doing with that character? This one is, again, what Ezra Miller is doing with Trash Can Man. I don't get it, and I don't think it was a good decision, and it's fucking weird. And again, he's a character with a lot of fucking depth in the book, and he's got all these social issues, and in this, what Ezra Miller's doing, he's not a character. He's just I don't even know how to describe him. He's just a madman with no depth at all. He's a one-track mind pyromaniac, and that's a big part of his character in the book, but there's so much more to him than that.
Yes.
And again, this is like I would say Trash Can Man is the least developed character of any major character, because he's not a character.
I agree, because we get 2 scenes of him in the 6th episode of a 9-episode miniseries.
Yeah.
And he plays such a pivotal role in the book, in the story, at the end. Like, oh my God, what are they doing?
Yeah.
It's so frustrating, and I was so excited for Ezra Miller because, like, on paper, this character
is perfect for him.
And it is a character that I imagine an actor can have so much fun with.
Yeah.
Because he's so crazy and everything. But the show is so dependent on on avoiding characterization. Like, there are 2 things. Oh my God, I can't believe I'm going to make this comparison in another fucking Stephen King adaptation. But when you see the kind of flashes when he has his vision with the Darkman, you overhear like his mother's voice or someone's voice saying like, "What's this I hear about you torching old lady whatever's pension check?" Which is it's a thing in the book. It's part of his character development and everything, but it's contained to a voiceover.
Right.
In this kind of just sensory overload, which I thought was really cool, like visually and everything. But that, and then you hear him as he's leaving the penthouse and he's going off on his adventure to go get the fire,
squawking like a fucking bird,
and saying, like, he's saying barely detectable. He's saying, "My life for you, my life for you."
Yeah.
And I don't know why. Like,
right.
That is such, like, it is a big part of his character
Yeah.
in this show. I don't know why. And I can't believe I'm going to make this comparison in another fucking Stephen King adaptation, but why is such a pivotal part of his backstory and a pivotal part of his character relegated to just a voiceover narration, like in the Dark Tower movie, when 15 minutes into the fucking movie you get the gunslinger, or the man in black fled across the desert and the gunslinger followed. The iconic line is a voiceover. God!
Yeah.
They did it again! It's just so frustrating.
It really is.
I will say that two things about Trash Can Man in his two scenes. One is that I thought it was interesting, I thought it was interesting that Flag doesn't appear to him as Flag like he does with everyone else. Like, he appears to him as, like, the Dark Man, as someone you can't see his face or anything, and he sees visions and everything. And, like, I'm sitting there 6 episodes into a 9-episode miniseries, and I'm like, oh, that's really interesting. I wonder what the point is of that. And then I realized, probably not a fucking point, because they don't care. Like, it does not seem like they care about making any choices that have anything going on below the surface. So what I think it is just simply that Trash Can Man is such a scatterbrain, fractured mind kind of thing that they're just doing the vision like that. And that's fine. But it's also, to what end? I don't get it. It's the one time where a vision of Randall Flagg is obscured and different, but there's no purpose to it other than just the person seeing him.
Yeah.
It's annoying.
I don't get it. Yeah, just such a huge failure with anything to do with Trash Can Man.
Yes.
In this series.
I will say the other thing about him is that the jealousy that Lloyd has over him kind of works a little bit.
It was a surprisingly human moment from this iteration of Lloyd Henry.
Right.
Yeah.
Which, speaking of oh fuck, speaking of Vegas, the very, very well developed character, the cherished character of this miniseries, the second or third spy, Judge Ferris.
What the fuck? Yeah.
Like, I was so irritated.
Yeah.
Like, you get scenes of her in the motel, I think at the end of the last episode or the beginning of this episode.
Yeah.
And then you get the setup of Lloyd, like, Randall Flagg saying, like, hey, we need her alive. And I like this idea that they need her alive so that he can try to suss out who the third spy is. Like, that's an interesting thing, because I think, because he doesn't need Judge Ferris in the book alive. He specifically says don't mutilate his face, because he wants to cut off his head and send it back to Boulder. Yeah. And, like, I fucking love that. Like, that's amazing. But, like, having it be like, no, take her alive so that we can figure out who the third spy is. Like, that's okay. It's fine. I kind of like that. It fucking happens off screen.
I know.
Like, what are they doing? Oh my God.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Judge Ferris has like 8 lines in the whole fucking series. That's
I think that's being generous, honestly.
Yeah.
It's, God damn it.
I know.
And then I do like the scene that plays out in response to that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go ahead and say it. I'm gonna try it. I was yelling this at my cat earlier today. Bobby Terry! You messed it all up! I think that's what he says.
Bobby Terry! You screwed it up!
I really like that just fucking bonkers kill in the glass elevator as it's descending. I thought that was really cool.
I liked the idea of it, but I thought it could have been filmed better.
Oh, sure.
I thought it missed a lot of, like, get us in there and show us the gore, and like, we saw the blood, but I don't know. I just thought it was a little, Could have been filmed better. I'll put it that way.
I agree. The aftermath of it, though, when the doors open and you see like the intestines and everything, is really cool.
That's true. Yeah.
I also want to single out that actor, Clifton Collins Jr.
Love Clifton Collins Jr.
Love him. He's probably one of my favorite character actors.
Yeah.
Shout out to his few episode run on FX's The Shield.
The Shield. Yeah. Yeah.
Love that guy.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Did you notice the name of the motorcycle club on his cut? You didn't notice that?
I didn't.
Really?
I don't think I did.
I can't remember exactly what it said, but the motorcycle club was called something. Damn it! I really wish I would have I was so sure you would have brought it up.
I watched this episode today while I was cooking food. So,
okay.
Yeah.
It's called the name of the motorcycle club on the back of his jacket is It's like the Agents of Discordia or something like that.
Really?
Yeah.
Motherfuck.
Yeah. Something with Discordia or Discord.
Man.
Yeah.
I love that.
I know, it's cool.
God damn it. I wish I would have noticed that.
Yeah.
Why did I have to fucking cook tonight? I'm Googling, man. And that did not even register with me, when I saw it the first time.
Yeah.
Man. Okay, yeah. Pro tip, typing in Bobby Terry Motorcycle Club jacket does not take you to the stand.
Nice. I'm trying to find a picture of it, but I'm not really seeing it.
Man, I am ashamed. I have forgotten the face of my father.
You have?
Yes.
It might be in trivia or something. Let's see, episode 6, right?
Man, another Easter egg that I did catch was the pattern on the carpet as they're walking through the casino. It's the shining carpet from the Kubrick movie.
I noticed that.
So I'm not totally unobservant.
Yeah, it's just funny because typically you pick up on that kind of stuff.
I honestly, that is so. Man, that is. I'm so shocked that I didn't pick it up because if I had picked it up when I first saw it, I would have just jumped at it. I would have been so excited. I would have put it in my notes and everything.
Yeah.
Chords of Discord.
There we go.
Nomads.
Yeah. Lords of Discord.
Lords of Discord. Okay.
Yeah.
What did I say? Chords of Discord?
Yeah.
Or Cards of Discord? I don't fucking know. Yeah, but anyway, I thought that was cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't tell what the insignia is, or the logo or whatever, but yeah, I mean, it has to be a Dark Tower reference.
I would think so. I think if it said Discordia, that would be a little bit, I would, I think, I don't know. I'm impressed, good job.
Thanks.
Yeah. So yeah, that is neat. So a couple of things about this episode in terms of Boulder. They're searching for Mother Abigail. That's cool and everything. I like the scene, even though it's again another kind of just vignette on the journey of Harold Lauder, where he's talking to Stu in the woods and he has the gun and he's about to, or he's contemplating shooting Stu. And I'm just that's cool and everything, but also to what end? Because he has a plan in motion,
right?
And I don't know if it's supposed to say he's so hell bent on killing Stu. It's also we don't see that growth. We don't see that characterization. We're told it.
Right.
But yeah. Anyway.
It doesn't happen organically.
Nope.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and as far as Mother Abigail, again, this is my biggest issue with this show. Not my biggest issue with the show, but one issue I have with the show is having Flag and Mother Abigail face to face and have that conversation.
I was so disinterested in that.
Me too.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's not needed. one of the most compelling things about this this storyline is that we have two people that are representing both, like, either side of the good versus evil spectrum, and they have agents in their employ to fight for them on their behalf.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I made such a huge deal about how it feels so much like it's like how much it opened my eyes when rereading it, how much Lost was inspired by it, because Lost, in the grand scheme of things, has a similar kind of, like, good versus evil fight.
Yeah.
And, like, here it's just like it's trying so hard to boil that down and just do the most, like, do the most direct and in-your-face approach to it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like it's lacking subtlety for me, and it's just not working.
It's not nuanced at all.
No.
The only thing I like about I think there's one other scene where they kind of interact, maybe in a dream or something.
There was a scene
in another
where
episode.
The wolf comes to her.
The wolf, that's right.
Yeah. And it's like growling.
That one, and then this scene where she's out in the woods.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing I like about it is the fact that both of those times, you could tell that, like, she was not afraid at all.
Yeah, that's true.
Through her body language and all that stuff, you could tell she was not at all afraid.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was kind of a cool part of her character, because,
Me too.
That makes sense, but that's about the only thing I liked about it, really.
And frankly, she should have been afraid, because she just scolded her star detective and everything.
Give me your gun and your eye patch.
Your gun and your eye patch. So yeah, a couple other things, because I don't have complete notes for this. There are seeds of doubt and moments of potential good for Nadine and Harold. Like, each character has, like, their own, like, pivotal moment in this episode where they have, like, their turning point moment. Like, Nadine is worried about Joe being at the Vigil because, she knows it's about to be exploded.
Right.
And then Harold has the kind of the scene with Franny, which we'll talk about. But they each have, like, this. On the surface, I kind of thought, okay, I was kind of ready to dislike it, but it feels like it is honoring the book in an interesting way, because one of the most compelling things about the Boulder Free Zone portion of the book is Harold kind of wrestling with what he is about to do, but not wrestling with it in terms of not in the kind of surface level way that the show is doing. He wrestles with it in the book because he is, like, finding himself actually being accepted in the community.
Mm-hmm.
But he's so hell-bent on destruction. Here, it's like, oh, he's not so hell-bent on destruction. He's just like, I don't know, like, he saw his friend get killed, and then now he's having cold feet, and it just feels like, it feels very lopsided. It, like, I could buy into that if that kind of, that reticence was more organically pursued throughout the arc.
Right.
But it's not.
It's just a further symptom of an unrealized character.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
Which is the name of my autobiography.
What is it?
My memoir. Another symptom of an undeveloped, or whatever you said.
Unrealized character.
Unrealized character.
Whatever you said.
Yeah. Another symptom of an unrealized character, the Matt Hurt story.
Jesus Christ.
Okay, so let's get to the big moment of this episode. Fuck. Okay, so they blow up the house. I like that it's at a vigil. I guess I'm indifferent to it.
Right.
Because in the book, he's purposely targeting the committee.
Right.
And they are collected in their committee meeting. And, oh, fuck. And it's such a good point in the book. It's such a great moment. It's such a great Stephen King moment. And here it's just, they're all huddled around the house. And Nick Andros, who is in the book, he stays behind to try to find the bomb and try to defuse it or try to get rid of it and everything, so his friends can get to safety and everything. They fight.
That dynamic is completely gone.
It's completely gone. He stops at the doorway and looks at the fucking piano.
Right.
And that's what kills him.
Right.
Like, God damn it.
I don't get it either.
Yeah.
Such a weird... Yeah, I don't know what they were going for, why they made these choices. Like, I just... At this point, I was a little checked out, and like, your emotional reaction you just had, like, I was just like, I don't have the capacity to react that way, because it's like, I don't care that much at this point.
Right.
Because they're just shitting the bed pretty hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I agree 100% with I think you're absolutely right. Like, they just... Again, it's just shitty writing. It's just unrealized characters, unrealized plot, not well developed at all, and just major structural issues.
Yeah, absolutely. And to kind of go back, Franny confronting Harold in his basement.
Yeah.
I like that, I guess.
Me too. I actually like that scene.
Okay,
yeah.
good.
It's just, I think it's actually well written. The dialogue is, and Owen Teague and Odessa Young both do a really good job. And it's it's actually kind of heartbreaking. Like, I think it was actually pretty well done. And it's not obviously it's not in the book. But that was one area or one moment where they actually, I think, made a good decision, and that was actually well done. I thought it was kind of tragic and heartbreaking, and just well done.
Yeah, I like that it's exploring that humanity between the two, that human connection that they have, even though it's not the connection that Harold wants or pursued. It's still like when she tells him that, like, oh, you're my only connect, like, you're the only person who knows me before this, and I'm the only person who knows you before this, and everything. Like, you're the only person left from that world. And, like, that's all good and everything. And I guess I'm kind of back and forth on it, or I'm so married to the book and how everything is just so, cause the show isn't really showing this evolution of Harold, like the Harold's act, his explosion kind of sneaks up on the rest of the group and the rest of the community and everything. And here it's just so, like, not that.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I kind of feel like they chose to do kind of this ticking time bomb thing, like this, like, the one person who knows what's happening is trapped in the basement and has to escape and then run and warn everyone, but it doesn't get there in time, and Nick stares at a piano. It just feels like it's the show defaulting into tropish suspense television rather than doing something that would be more constructive to the overall narrative.
Yeah.
And I say that having liked the connection dialogue between the two,
right.
But it makes me question, like, is she just saying that so that he doesn't explode everybody?
Right.
To what end is she doing this? Because we haven't seen that before.
Yeah. And it's too little too late. I mean,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep. Anything else about this episode?
No.
Okay.
No, not really, no.
Yeah, I can't think of anything else.
Yeah.
Next time on the show, we are going to be talking about episodes 7 through 9, which are The Walk, The Stand, and Franny. Something. I have it in my notes. I'm such an idiot. Coda, Franny and the Well.
Yeah.
Which I'm excited. We haven't watched those episodes yet. That last episode doesn't premiere until Thursday. I'm excited because that episode is written by Stephen King, and it is it's an epilogue essentially.
Yeah, right.
So I'm excited for that.
The denouement.
Yes. So that should be fun.
Yeah.
All right, I think that'll do it. I don't have anything else. I've kept you way past your bedtime, Tiny, so I'm sorry.
It's all right.
All right, so to close out the episode, just to remind you guys, check out our Patreon at patreon.com/obsessiveviewer, $1 to $2 per month, you get access to an exclusive RSS feed, which we have a clip at the end of every episode to kind of tease out what it is. And then if you pledge $5 every month, you get access to that, plus commentary tracks that I record. And then if you pledge $10, you get early access to episodes as I edit them and unreleased episodes that I find in my hard drives. So do that, please. That would be awesome. Patreon.com/obsessiveviewer. If you can. If not, it's cool.
Yep.
Tiny, any parting thoughts?
Let's get this over with.
All right, cool.
Meaning the series.
The series, yes, yes. I'm so excited to do non-stand stuff.
Yeah.
It's going to be fun.
Yeah.
All right, so thank you guys so much for listening, and we'll see you next time, and long days and pleasant nights.
And may you have twice the number.
And now, here's a short clip from our Patreon exclusive RSS feed. To hear the full clip and more exclusive Patreon content, go to patreon.com/obsessiveviewer and become a patron at the minimum rate of $1 per month. Thank you and enjoy. Ever happen. But how freaking cool would it be if some, like someone with the clout and the money of like a Disney or like a huge like Apple or something. Mm-hmm. What if they went out and they bought the rights to every single Stephen King property? Like they tracked down every single rights holder and fucking bought it from them, and just like they basically buy the rights to every single thing Stephen King has ever published or will publish or has not published but has like in a crate in his office. And what if they took that and created like they did like a Disney thing? And what if they took that and they started fresh? Every single adaptation that they would do under their umbrella would be all part of a connected universe of Stephen King adaptations, and it would all feed through this like a lengthy Dark Tower adaptation that every like character that kind of filters in and out will go into different Stephen King things, like characters that are characters in one of his stories that pop up in the Dark Tower will be played by the same actor, and it's all this cohesive thing. How cool would that be?
You're talking about the SKU.
Yes, the SKU, not like a barcode or anything.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
That would be super cool.
That would be so awesome.
Like if there was just a Stephen King tab on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe not Disney Plus.
HBO, like HBO Max, maybe.
HBO Max.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be super cool, man.
Yeah.
Tower Junkies is edited and produced by Matt Hurt and presented by ObsessiveViewer.com. For a full archive of our episodes, go to TowerJunkiesPod.com/archive. You can also like our Facebook page at Facebook.com/TowerJunkiesPod and follow us on Twitter at TowerJunkiesPod. If you enjoy the show, please take a couple minutes to leave us a rating and a quick review on Apple Podcasts. This is the easiest way to support what we do, and all it costs is just a little bit of your time. If you'd like to donate to the podcast, you can make a PayPal donation at TowerJunkiesPod.com/donate, or support us on Patreon for recurring donations and access to commentary tracks and B-roll audio recorded exclusively for patrons at patreon.com/obsessiveviewer. Every donation goes toward paying the fees to keep the podcast running and is greatly appreciated. For official Obsessive Viewer merch, including shirts, mugs, phone cases, and more, visit our TeePublic store. You can find a link to the store in the show notes of this episode and at obsessiveviewer.com/donate. Or you can simply search for Obsessive Viewer at teepublic.com. For information about our annual live event showcasing short horror films from local filmmakers, check out shocktoberinirvington.com. And for an archive of all our events, as well as news about potential future events, head over to obsessiveviewer.com/live. For more podcast content, you can find our flagship movie and TV review and discussion show, The Obsessive Viewer Podcast, at obsessiveviewer.com and on Twitter at obsessiveviewer. You can also find Anthology, Matt's solo podcast covering The Twilight Zone, and other classic and contemporary science fiction anthology TV shows at anthologypod.com and OV Anthology Pod on Twitter. And finally, check out The Secular Perspective, Tiny's side project podcast, which tackles current events and life's big questions from the perspective of secular hosts Chad and Amanda at thesecularperspective.com. Music for the podcast is provided with permission from Fingers T on YouTube. Additional bumper music is provided courtesy of As Good As It Gets, which can be found at facebook.com/asgoodasitgetsband. Thank you so much for listening. Long days and pleasant nights.
Kitty!
You have an earring. Bye, guys! Woo!
Hope you'll forgive us for what we've done.